Welcome to Ring Space. In today's video, we're diving into the latest buzz in the fight world, Jake Paul's bold challenges, expert opinions from legends like Joe Rogan and Floyd Mayweather, and the potential showdown with Anthony Joshua. Will Jake Paul prove his critics wrong, or is he in over his head? Stick around to find out. Let's get started.
Josh was
said he wants to fight Anthony Joshua in 2026.
And the haters online are like, yeah, do it.
Is he?
Oh, man. You look at Anthony Joshua. He looks like a superhero.
Eddie Hearn responding to this just confirms that this fight could actually happen.
On a recent podcast, Joe Rogan playfully imagined Jake Paul facing off against Anthony Joshua in 2026. He joked that Paul might be stalling the fight, so he can bulk up, maybe even with some help from steroids before stepping into the ring with the heavyweight champ.
That Dubois guy, though, holy man. The way he took out Anthony Joshua.
I know.
Yeah, Jake wants to fight Anthony Joshua now?
I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua's.
Said he wants to fight Anthony Joshua in 2026.
And the haters online are like, yeah, do it.
Well, they're like,
yeah,
what about
make that
now?
happen. Yeah.
They're like, what about fight him
now.
now? He's like, no, I want to wait till 2026. Like, okay.
To put on weight?
Put all the steroids, every steroid
Whatever
they have.
I would watch. Here's the thing. I would
scorpion
watch
venom.
it.
Oh, by the way,
Scorpion venom.
Rollo reached out to me, John Rollo, my boy, and he sells this blue scorpion shit. He wants to get you some, Gordon.
I'll have some.
All right, I'll have him send you some.
Get on the
I'll
scorpion.
take some
Quadruple
too.
doses, like
Yeah,
We'll see
do
what
it. man.
happens. I'm gonna start slow. I want to find out if I get poisoned.
Yeah, just
What the fuck are we doing? We're drinking venom from scorpions.
That is weird.
That's weird. He's got the dopest tattoos.
Joe Rogan has always been amazed by Anthony Joshua's incredible physique and raw power. He recently said that Joshua looks like a superhero with his chiseled muscles and unmatched strength. His intense training and athleticism put him on another level, making him one of the most respected fighters in the heavyweight division.
Like boxers today, if you look at like Anthony Joshua, who's the heavyweight champion of the world now.
Is he?
You look at him, yeah. He's a English fellow. He's a tank. I mean,
Is he?
Oh man, you look at Anthony Joshua. He looks like a superhero.
Do those guys have as much stamina as these guys do, though?
Oh yeah, they do
Oh, they
today.
did?
Yeah, because the conditioning methods that they have today are just so superior. They understand rest and recovery, and they monitor
see.
your heart rate, and they're monitoring lactic acid buildup. And
Jake Paul has already gone toe-to-toe with some legendary boxers, but what if he took on an MMA fight? His matches against former champions have drawn major buzz, but stepping into the MMA world would be a whole new beast. Some even speculate that he could one day challenge Joe Rogan himself.
Now that things didn't work out in boxing for Jake Paul, who's he going to fight in MMA?
if he fought Joe Rogan, that'd be the greatest selling fight of all time.
Joe Rogan?
And that'd be a good fight. I think Rogan would beat him.
That's insane. You're crazy.
In MMA? Have you seen Joe's kicks?
Joe,
Bam! One to Jake's face, he's dead.
I've seen the spinning kicks, but Joe's like 70 years old now. He's like 3 feet shorter than Jake Paul. He's a blob.
One DMT trip right beforehand, he'll see every punch Jake's gonna throw.
No matter how many cold plunges or sauna trips Joe takes, he won't be prepared for a fight against Jake Paul.
Jake Paul has built his brand by calling out big-name fighters, keeping himself in the spotlight, and shaking up the combat sports world with his bold challenges.
I love that.
Well, it'd be cool just to be like, why does it have to be like, hey, I need to beat you at MMA? You are a kickboxer.
Right.
You are an MMA fighter. It's two different sports.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, but it's like exciting to see. Like,
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
Yeah.
See if he could survive the first round in just pure Muay Thai.
Yeah.
No takedowns.
No, I think that clown show is that Jake Paul match. Such a clown show.
What are they doing?
Is he still fighting AD? Is that still going on?
Oh, that one. Yeah, I thought because he's got a PFL contract as
Oh,
well,
that's right.
right?
Joe Rogan has acknowledged Jake Paul's knockout power, especially after he floored a former UFC champion with one punch. Rogan pointed out that if Paul had started as a boxer instead of a YouTuber, more people would respect his skills. But because of his social media background, many still question his legitimacy in the ring despite his impressive wins.
If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever, knock him out with one punch like that, you'd be like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? If he wasn't that big YouTube star, and you just saw him as a boxing contender, you'd be like, that dude's got dynamite in his hands.
Eddie Hearn has warned Jake Paul that if he wants to fight Anthony Joshua, he better be ready and make sure his insurance is in place. Joshua is a force to be reckoned with, and stepping into the ring with him is a serious risk for anyone.
Eddie Hearn responding to Jake Paul's call out of Anthony Joshua by stating this. He states, Joshua would fight anyone anytime, but warn Paul about the risk. If Jake Paul wants to step up and fight Anthony Joshua, he'll need the relevant insurance. And let me counterpunch. Eddie Hearn responding to this just confirms that this fight could actually happen. Because, Eddie pretty much, calls the shots. He makes the play. Anthony Joshua's interested. Now, Eddie Hearn is stating that he's interested. So that means, hey, why not wait? Why wait to 26? Why not this year in 25? And that means that he is very comfortable with putting Anthony Joshua in there with Jake Paul. And if I was Eddie Hearn, people, counterpunching this statement, I would too. Because this is, to me, again, like I've told you guys before, when Jake Paul called out Anthony Joshua, I think he overstepped himself.
Eddie Hearn is also questioning why Jake Paul wants to wait until 2026 to fight Joshua instead of stepping up sooner. Hearn thinks that if Paul is serious, he should take on Joshua this year. His confidence in an earlier fight hints that talks might already be happening. And if both sides agree, we could see the showdown much sooner than expected.
And Eddie being that confident by responding the way he did, why wait to next year? Let's do it now, or let's do it this year. That says a lot, man. That is saying a lot about Eddie Hearn. The confidence is there. He wants that fight because Jake Paul is better than people think he is. But can he beat AJ? No. Because one shot from AJ would put Jake Paul on a stretcher, on the gurney. And Eddie, he saw that. He saw it just like I did. Just like I think you guys know. I think Jake Paul is calling him out because he needs another big fight. And calling out Anthony Joshua is a good way to do it. He promised Canelo Alvarez, I promise you, you're going to need me. I promise you, my fight is going to be bigger than yours. Well, who is on that level?
Shannon Sharp doesn't see Jake Paul standing a chance against Anthony Joshua. He made it clear that Joshua's sheer size is just too much for Paul, warning that Paul might be biting off more than he can chew. With Joshua's strength, skill, and experience, many believe this fight would not end well for Paul.
The elites. We talk about the elites at their craft. It's not going to happen. If I'm not mistaken, I think Jake fought the closest,
Tyson Fury, brother.
Tommy Paul, the closest person to actually,
Tommy Fury.
Tommy. If you want to challenge someone with the one loss you have. Take him out.
Even with all the doubt, Titty Atlas has praised Jake Paul for his dedication to improving as a boxer. Atlas noted that Paul is genuinely putting in the work to get better and compete at a higher level. Having watched countless fighters rise and fall, Atlas recognizes the serious effort Paul is making in his boxing career.
But listen, I don't want to mock it. I know you're going to take me there. I don't want to mock it because anyone gets in the ring, I ain't mocking them. I'm not. And I have a lot of respect for Jake Paul, what he's done, and the way he's done it. He's trained hard to become the best fighter he can be, and he's a work in progress, and he's still working. He's still trying to be better.
Jake Paul hasn't just called out Anthony Joshua. He's also claimed he could beat Canelo Alvarez. This has stirred up frustration among boxing fans, since Canelo is widely considered one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport.
I want to fight Anthony Joshua exclusive because I know that I will beat Anthony Joshua's ass. I know
he just got knocked out, right?
Yeah. He doesn't have a chin and he has no skill and he's stiff. And I love you, Anthony. We're friends. All this I want to fight you. I will beat Canelo.
Stop the tape now. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. The thing I respect about Jake Paul is his strategic selection of opponent. The retired NBA player, the mixed martial artist who does not specialize in striking, and a almost approaching 60-year-old Mike Tyson. But Anthony Joshua's skills are 1,000 light years ahead of Jake Paul's. Anthony Joshua, Mr. 28 wins, 25 knockouts, 4 losses. Anthony Joshua has been in the ring with real fighters. His resume speaks for itself. I just have one thing to say. Jake Paul, you can't play boxing. Trust me. Just stay in your lane.
One major issue in this potential fight is the big weight difference between them. Jake Paul weighed in at 200 pounds for his fight with Mike Tyson, while Anthony Joshua usually competes in the heavyweight division, weighing between 252 and 255 pounds.
The real deal respond to me as I tweeted my thoughts about delusion, which again, I think is more about what Jake said about Anthony Joshua and what he'll do to him. That was the more delusional aspect of this. Amanda Serrano said, at Jake Paul is the truth. Funny, they say he's a fraud for wanting easy fights. Then he asked for the toughest fights ever, and they say he's nuts. Listen, he was scheduled to fight Canelo Gervonta, and now he's calling out Joshua. Come on, who else is doing this? Oh, crap, on second thought, he is out of his freaking mind. You're right. That was more of just Amanda backing her guy, you know what I'm saying, the co-founder of MVP and someone that she really respects. And Gervonta Davis, and she's not the only one saying that. Dan Rafael said the same thing earlier that day or maybe yesterday. I can't believe that that's true or if that was really going to happen. Essentially, the idea being, had Gervonta Davis beat Lamont Roach, he was going to fight Jake Paul next. And this is why I say, like, it's delusional, but it's possible. Like, he almost had the Canelo fight, and think what you will about how that went down and how realistic that was going to be. I legit think it was probably close to happening. Now you're telling me there were discussions and potentially, signed to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. And again, I do believe the reason for that is Jake's massive size advantage. Again, that's like a 100-pound weight advantage. How would that even work?
Anthony Joshua has taken on some of the biggest names in boxing and has far more experience than Jake Paul. Joe Rogan has pointed this out when discussing their possible fight. Joshua has been in grueling battles with elite fighters, while Paul is still fairly new to the sport.
Paul's coming into his own, man. That's what that is. He's only like 27. That guy's fucking scary. He's dangerous. Going into that fight, it seems like he believed that he was just going to dominate him. He was so aggressive. He was just in the pocket constantly, just forcing Joshua to go to war. It was wild.
Everybody was like, look, to Joshua, I think you're done.
Right after he knocks out Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, you're back.
Yeah.
Flattened Francis Ngannou, and everyone's like, oh, Joshua's back. Look how good he looked.
Paul has been criticized for picking his opponents carefully, with many believing he only fights older or less skilled fighters. To boost his record, his recent fight with Mike Tyson, who was 52 at the time, sparked accusations that Paul only takes fights he knows he can win. This has led to debates about whether he's truly testing himself. Joe Rogan spoke about the Tyson fight, saying he was just glad Tyson didn't get hurt while also acknowledging the big payday Tyson walked away with.
Wasn't the Tyson-Jake fight, wasn't that amazing?
Yeah. It's amazing they got paid so much money for that.
25 million and 40 million?
I think 20 and 40. Yeah,
20 and
I think
40.
that's what I'd heard. Which I'm happy Mike got the money, and I'm happy that he didn't get hurt. That was my fear, that it was going to be a real fight and he was going to get hurt.
You've known him for a long time. I've known him for a long time.
I love that dude.
Me too.
And he was a larger-than-life figure in my childhood.
Truly, me
when
too.
I was a kid, when he was the champ, it was like, people don't understand what a champ he was. Like, he wasn't just the heavyweight champion of the world. He was an executioner.
Truly.
Every fight was just a matter of how long was it going to last.
Which fight it was that I went to go see a couple of fights, and I actually went to go see Julio Cesar Chavez fight, and that's when I met Tyson in the green room, and I met at the same time Muhammad Ali in the green room.
Oh, wow.
That was a moment.
Wow.
As a boxing fan,
That's
that was
a
a
heavy
real
moment.
But I remember, and I don't know who it was, and I think it was a 90-second fight, and I went to go see this fight, and Tyson was fighting, and this guy was doing this stuff before, and he had he had built himself into confidence, and Mike came out afterwards. He was the first one, obviously, and Mike came out afterwards, and I watched his face. I didn't watch Mike. You would normally watch Mike because he's so charismatic, and he's coming, you want to see what he's going to do. And I watched the guy's face, and I watched that confidence bleed from his face.
Paige Jackson has taken shots at Jake Paul for dodging real challenges, even saying he wouldn't consider fighting Paul unless he was much older. This implies that Paul mainly targets aging or less dangerous opponents, something he's been repeatedly criticized for throughout his boxing career.
Jake Paul. No, but I'm never going to call out Jake Paul again because I saw Butterbean call him out and that looked pathetic. So I'm never going to call out Jake Paul. But I've called out Jake Paul and stuff like that. Everybody calling out Jake Paul. And Jake Paul. I'm not calling out Jake Paul. He won't fight me for another 10 years until I'm too old to get in there. I'm not. Everybody know that's the money fight and stuff like that. But fuck, I don't give a fuck about him.
Just overall, your thoughts on his opponent selection these last few fights?
He's smart. He's smart. Yeah.
Paul hasn't just challenged Anthony Joshua, he's also claimed he could take down Canelo Alvarez. Many boxing fans think this claim is ridiculous since Canelo is one of the most skilled and experienced fighters in the sport. But despite the doubts, Paul remains confident in his abilities.
Who's the person that if you fight, you're like, I can't believe I'm in the ring with this person, and let's fucking go?
I think Canelo. We're the two biggest names in the sport and two biggest pay-per-view draws in the sport. I think it would just shut the internet down. And I know I can win. So
you could beat Canelo.
Yes.
Jake Paul has explained that he wants to fight Anthony Joshua in 2026 so he can gain more experience and put on more weight. But Eddie Hearn isn't buying it. He believes that if Paul is serious, he should fight Joshua this year. In response, Paul called Hearn two-faced, claiming he acts friendly in public, but is different behind the scenes. This adds yet another chapter to Paul's ongoing drama with boxing promoters.
And of course, Eddie Hearn is already preparing his excuse.
Dude, he's preparing it.
Yeah, that's what he does. He's a weasel. He's a snake. Snake guy right there.
What do you mean he's a weasel?
Man, I don't even know where to begin with him, but he's very two-faced. I think off camera, he's on your side, man, you do well, I love what you're doing actually, and I really respect it, and blah blah blah, and you're gonna take this a long way. And then the cameras come on and he's like, you're not that good, da da da, saying all
so he's
this
selling
stuff.
he's selling
It's like a backhanded compliment, or a backhanded diss. The way he words it and shit, he's like, oh, you're average. Well, average isn't that bad. Well, Eddie, what if I called your wife average? You know what I'm saying?
Despite the backlash he faces, Jake Paul has made a name for himself as a boxing promoter, bringing attention to the sport and creating opportunities for other fighters. His marketing skills have made him one of the most talked about figures in boxing. He's also shown interest in fighting Gervonta Tank Davis, but Davis laughed it off, calling Paul a clown and making it clear he doesn't take him seriously as a boxer.
How about Jake? What do you think of Jake?
Clown.
Yeah.
He's a clown.
Would you look at it as a joke if your team was like, yo, we want you to fight Jake Paul? Would you be like, come on, man?
I laugh at him. You want me to fight him?
You think it'll ever come to the point where you're going to mix into, you're obviously doing the real shit, but will ever mix into the point where the money's big enough for you to
would you ever do a fight like that?
I feel as though in my career, I can't do that right now.
Even though Tank Davis previously dismissed the idea of fighting Jake Paul, he's now showing some interest. This could be another reason why Paul is delaying his fight with Joshua. He might be looking to take on Davis first.
Who were you going to call out? What was the plan originally?
I think he was here. He came in my locker room.
Shakur Stevenson?
He wasn't in my locker room.
Jake Paul?
Next question.
Man, god damn, that's not the Trevante I know.
Floyd Mayweather has weighed in on Jake Paul, saying he's great at making money but more focused on entertainment than serious boxing. While Mayweather respects Paul's financial success, he doesn't see him as a top-tier fighter.
You get out of that bubble to make somebody a real boxer.
What he's doing is, kind of cool. If he can continue to steal money and and they match him the way they match him, I can't knock his hustle. So if they can match him the way how they've been matching him, more power to him.
Champ, we appreciate your time. Yeah. No, we got to give, Nick, put the camera on PT. Yo, PT, man, we appreciate you. Thanks, P, for making this happen. P and Rilla, we appreciate the money team all the time, man. We got so one time before we go, Floyd, because I'm coming over to the palace. What's in the ceiling? So the fans know what's in the ceiling?
Oh, Chihuly?
Chihuly. Yo, Floyd, thank you so much. We appreciate you, champ. We're coming over to the palace soon, man.
All right, let's do it.
Got you, man. Thank you.
Jake Paul has even called out Floyd Mayweather for a fight, but Mayweather made it clear he'd only do it under proper boxing rules. He stressed that just because Paul knows how to make money doesn't mean he belongs among the sport's elite.
Paul to fight.
Is he someone you're interested in, or no?
Well, if you go back, you got to do your homework. Look on the internet. I think he was doing a sit down on a podcast one time, and he talked about it. He said, I don't want to do an exhibition against Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
He said, I'm only doing real fights, and of course, I can't get up high in weight, but I'll fight him in a real fight at the weight that I'm at. But Jake Paul, I mean, as of right now, for what he's doing, it's good for what he's doing. But once he fights a real fighter, it's going to be bad.
Have you been impressed?
But one thing I like about him, one thing I do like about him, he's selling it. He's selling it, and he's making good money, and he's entertaining. I like it.
Is he? And Floyd, there were many people who believe you're the most talented fighter ever. Period. So whatever you say to this question, I think is important. Are you impressed? Does he have boxing ability, or is he just an entertainer who has a lot of fans and can promote a fight and has fought lesser opponents, or is he actually talented?
As long as he continues to fight MMA guys and YouTubers, he's gonna continue to look good and shine.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates, and we'll see you next time.